Oscar time is just around the corner. What animated films might get nominated for Best Animated Feature? Hey everyone, this is Kevin T. Rodriguez, film critic of iCritic.net. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes of your day with me today. And you know that here at iCritic, we love animation. I am a huge fan of animation. I'm working on those animated Oscar videos right now. I have reviewed animation. I think animation is cinema, and cinema is animation. That being said, I feel that the Best Animated Feature category has basically been an award in the whole Oscar race that has not gotten the respect it deserves. And frankly, some of it is because of the award's own history, the fact that it really caters to Disney, even when there's vastly superior films, the fact that it is known that parents let their kids choose the winners and nominees. So the Best Animated Feature category has definitely been problematic. It's probably the most problematic category aside from Best Documentary Feature, which seems to get major mistakes every single year. But that being said, it doesn't mean we cannot debate what will and will not get nominated for the award. So without further ado, let's talk about the nominations, and let's start with the movies that look to be a sure thing. And the first movie that looks to be pretty much as close to a lock as you get is Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. This was a wildly inventive film. It is a sequel to the Oscar-winning Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. And in fact, this movie has been talked up a little bit as a potential Best Picture nominee. Now, those talks seem to have seceded a little bit. People aren't predicting it as much, so even though it could happen, it seems unlikely at this point. But that being said, Beyond the Spider-Verse very much seems to be a lock at this point. I think the thing that's working most against it at the moment is the fact that reports have come out that the animators were not treated very well during the production of this film, and that might sour voters at the Academy. Also, the fact that it's the middle of a trilogy and it ends on a cliffhanger, that could also hurt this film's chances, but do not be surprised at all if Spider-Man is one of the 5 nominees. I think it's pretty much a lock at this point. The second lock that we have for this category is The Boy and the Heron by Hayao Miyazaki. Now, in Japan, this movie was titled How Do You Live? Internationally, it's being called The Boy and the Heron because apparently most international audiences are not familiar with the How Do You Live novel, of which this film is based off of. Now, the thing about this is very interesting because Studio Ghibli took a very rare approach to the marketing of this movie, where with the exception of this single poster, they did not have any commercials, they did not have any publicity, they did not air a trailer, nothing. And yet the movie was wildly successful. We're starting to see bits and pieces of the film more as it starts to roll out, but one thing that has been consistent is the more people see it, the more they rave about it. This may potentially be Miyazaki's final film for real this time, and after snubbing him for Ponyo and The Wind Rises, and according to the themes of like life and death that is going to hit home with older members of the Academy, The Boy and the Heron actually seems like it could be a potential win. In fact, this is my prediction to win the movie is The Boy and the Heron. Do not count Miyazaki out. This might be his year, and The Boy and the Heron makes a very strong case for winning this award. And now the next 2 predictions I am going to say are pretty strong bets for being nominated for Best Animated Feature. The first one being Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget. Now, it should be noted, I have not seen this movie. I don't think a lot of people have seen this movie, and if the reviews are bad, you can easily take it off the list and replace it with one of the spoilers, which we'll talk about later. But it would be really ironic if Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget didn't get nominated for a couple reasons. One, Aardman tends to do very well in this category. They have won for Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were-Rabbit. They have been nominated for The Pirates. They've been nominated for both of the Shaun the Sheep movies. Aardman is very much loved by the animation community, and if this movie is better than any of those movies, it's getting nominated. And the second reason is you have to remember Chicken Run is essentially the reason this category existed. Back in 2000, Chicken Run was considered one of the best films of the year, and it was considered a front runner or a potential front runner to be a Best Picture nominee, and yet it didn't get nominated, which caused the Academy to really take a look and realize, maybe we should create a category for animated features. If you want to know more about that, you can check out my video about that above. It's, in my opinion, worth watching. So it would seem kind of weird if Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget did not get nominated for this award, because Chicken Run, the first movie, is the whole reason this award seems to exist in the first place. Another movie that seems like a real possibility is Ernest Celestine, The Road to Galbertia. We're just going to call it Ernest and Celestine 2 because I'm sure I botched that name. The first Ernest and Celestine movie was nominated for Best Animated Feature at the Academy Awards. It did not win. However, that film has gained a reputation for being one of the absolute best family films of all time. Now, whether the sequel is better than the first one may be up for debate. I think it's probably about the same, but that doesn't mean the sequel is not charming and does not ooze with... It makes you smile as you watch this movie. It makes you laugh with its quirky sense of humor. I could easily see Ernest and Celestine coming back at the Oscars, and so put Ernest and Celestine 2 down as a almost certain to be nominated in this category. And that leaves the fifth slot of this category. And I have to say, the fifth slot is kind of a tricky one for me because these first 5 slots are the predictions. These are what I believe will be nominated. Doesn't mean it's what I would necessarily pick. And if you've noticed, there is one company that seems conspicuously absent, and that is Disney. Now, here's the thing. I fully believe that this year, Disney could be completely shut out. The animation year is just that strong. Disney could be completely shut out of this category. However, it seems unlikely that they wouldn't get at least one nomination. And so I looked at the 2 options they had, and I'm ultimately going to settle on Elemental potentially taking that 5th slot. Elemental is from Pixar. The Academy clearly loves Pixar. It is a personal immigrant story, and it's also kind of got a bit of an underdog comeback story all in one. It was the underdog, like, could Pixar original films prove that people will still see them? And it opened very poorly, and yet word of mouth carried it to a victory in the box office to where, I don't know if it actually made money, but it certainly was not the financial loss that they were expecting. They went from being the worst opening ever to being a strong word of mouth minor sleeper hit. And that is a story that will not go unnoticed by the Academy. So I think Elemental might be the 5th slot for the nominees. Now, that being said, what are the spoilers in this category? Who could come in and actually take that 5th slot, or even the 4th or the 3rd slot? Well, the other obvious contender is Wish from Disney. Now, I've seen Wish. I think it's pretty good. It's good. I like the soundtrack. I think one of the songs will probably get nominated. I don't think it's as strong as Elemental, but being the more recent one, Wish could be nominated instead of Elemental. I don't think both of the movies are going to get nominated, but I think at least one will. I'm choosing Elemental, but Wish could also be a nominee. Another potential spoiler would be Suzumiya from Makoto Shinkai. Now, Shinkai has been snubbed by the Oscars over and over again, primarily because when his films come to America, they come from studios that do not have the marketing or campaign power that, well, you kind of need to get into this awards race at all. Now, it has not been talked about very much, but Crunchyroll, who is owned by Sony, has promised that they are going to mount a serious Oscar campaign, and they've even started with re-releases of the film in areas where voters are most likely to attend. So Suzumiya, which is a very good and very award-worthy film, might catch enough attention that it kind of sneaks in there come Oscar morning. Another movie that could be a spoiler is Nimona. Now, the reason I didn't put this in the predictions category is because personally, I don't like Nimona that much. I have a review of it, and I have major issues with the 3rd act and the messaging. So I just don't see the Academy giving Netflix that nomination. But that being said, it does have its fans. The animation is gorgeous. It is a very unique animated film. It might have stumbled a little at the end, but I got to give them props for really giving it the good college try. So this one might have enough of a fan base that it could sneak in. Also, Netflix has a lot of money to spend on these award campaigns, and having just won the award last year, maybe they could get in by that virtue alone. Another potential spoiler could be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Now, this is a very well-made movie. It is definitely one of the best animated films that Paramount Animation has released. The reason I don't think it's a lock? Well, it's Ninja Turtles. I have a very hard time believing Academy voters would vote for Ninja Turtles in anything, even if the quality is undeniable. Also, the movies that I mentioned for what will get nominated, with the exception of Elemental, are better than this. And Suzumiya is better than this. So I think Ninja Turtles is just going to have to be happy with the franchise reboot that it set out to be. And then the final potential spoiler is Migration from Illumination. Now, the reason that I can't say too much about this is I have not seen this movie, and not a lot of people have seen this movie. It could come out and be very, very good and get an Oscar nomination. It's also Illumination, and I have not seen a genuinely great Illumination film ever. Like, I think the most stars I've given Illumination is 3.5. Honestly, like they've never risen above the occasion, if you will. It's just, so I don't see Illumination getting in, but since I haven't seen it, I have to mention it could be a spoiler. As for some of the other animated movies that you may enjoy, like Super Mario Brothers movie and Paw Patrol, the Mighty Movie, look, I'm going to be perfectly frank with you guys. Those movies are not worthy of Oscar consideration. Oscar is very unlikely to reward them. If you enjoy those movies, that is perfectly fine, but the Oscar means great achievement. Movies like that are not great achievements in art. They may be entertaining to some of you, but they are not great achievements that deserve awards. With that being said, what do you think of these choices? Did I miss any of them? And what would you personally nominate? No judgment here. If you think Paw Patrol deserves an Oscar nomination, we want to know. So comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.